So we cut the tail end of game number 1, which is Astrea apparently was already behind for whatever reason. But by the end of it, he had a chance to win if he played perfectly. And he played very imperfectly. It was kind of a disaster. But that can be how it goes in this matchup. And it can be how it goes with Astrea. I'll explain more when I introduce the players. On the top right, it is Byun taking game 1. Bottom left, it is Astrea on the ley lines. Yeah, Astrea will very often have games where it is a stumble into a rolling down a mile-long hill through branches and thorny bushes and trees and rocks. And that can be because he is kind of greedy. So when he's greedy, he goes for like this fast third nexus, and he doesn't have an appropriate scouts. He doesn't know where the army is or what exactly the build is or something like that. He will die sometimes just to that. It'll be a very simple game. Sometimes a single drop will kind of throw him off, and then again he will die to the follow-up push because he's lost track of the army, or he's not yet, the investment of whatever he's done has not yet paid off. So it's really par for the course for Astrea that last game, which is not to say that he's bad. It's par for the course that he lost. Am I right, guys? No, it's just that his games can oftentimes be that flip-floppy. Like, they can look astoundingly in favor of him because he gets away with some greed, or he gets away with some really odd opener or play style, or they can look wonderfully poor. Oh my god, speaking of odd. Because he is greedy and he gets punished for it in some capacity. I don't know what this is, but apparently we're doing it. Now, obviously, this is because there is a rich Vespian geyser on this base. But I don't know. I don't even know. I don't. This isn't the first time we've seen a Protoss do this, or in this matchup. It's not the first time we've seen a map have this type of base situation. People will try and take these rich Vespians, rich minerals, whatever. It does seem absurd to me, though, on this map, where that it's going towards your opponent. It's not like oh man, what is that map in the actual live map pool? It's not the map that, like, if you expand towards the middle map, you're just like right up against your opponent. It is a distance away from your opponent's natural, so there's that. But man, oh man, it still is expanding towards your opponent, and it still is dangerous in the early game. Byun obviously scouted it, lost the Reaper. He has gone for his high ground command center. Byun does this almost every single time. And he will be safe, but then the question is, will Astrea's natural be safe? Now, the reason that a lot of times that this can be a really good maneuver is because whatever you're using it for, the minerals or the gas, on whatever map you're thinking of, it's oftentimes used aggressively, right? So we call it greedy, as they take the unsafe base for the benefit of some rich resource. You can be called greedy, but just because it's greedy doesn't mean that it's macro-oriented. Just means they're trying to get away with something really quickly to do something a little later on that's really powerful. So sometimes you'll see the Zerg player take the gold base, right? Because then what they really want to do is just 2-base all in you. Astrea takes the base with the rich Vespian gas, giving him the opportunity to not have to put an additional 3 probes on an assimilator, and then proceeds not to take the gas. So this is just some fucking mind games. I feel like that's all it is. Already going poorly, though, is Astrea, not realizing a tank had already been popped out. These are the Cyclone or something first, right? It was just a Widowmine. Runs face first into it prior to Blink being done. Before the hallucination, got the confirmation on the scout too, which is really poor timing. And then manages to miss the medevac as well. He does have stalkers though, so it's okay. Sorry, it's fine. He can't take the gas hit, it's blocked? How is it blocked? Oh. Good news is Widowmine drop does get discovered. And the Widowmine will be killed as well, thanks to hallucination. Well, not that anymore. Wait, was that ever blocked? Wait, I'm confused. I thought it was unblocked for a long time. Like when he was saturated on all the minerals, certainly. Well, anyways. Oh, I don't know about that Blink 4. It does lose him 2 Stalkers. 2 Stalkers for 1 tank, though? He's 3-gating. No Warp Prism. If there was a Warp Prism, I actually wonder if that could have been a bit of a snowball effect, but clearly not the intentions of Astrea. Yeah, I see that here. Did he not mine those out? I mean, aren't they like only 10 minerals? I'm actually not sure. I can't click on them. Not until we have vision. 10 minerals, 2 probe trips, 20 minerals, 4 probe trips. I mean, what I'm saying is that it feels like he could have absolutely gotten the gas much faster, right? Oh, they're 200? Oh! Oh, then I take back everything I said. Well, that does it, you know, now I understand why that gas wasn't taken particularly quickly. That does still make me wonder why taking this as your natural is the better move. And the only thing you can really come up with is that 1, mind games. Still, I would say. But then 2 is that you are kind of going into the whole, like, if I take the dangerous base first, then I mine it out first. So I'm safe when things go to shit at minute 9. And which is true. And because he was a little aggressive with some Stalkers, with even a sentry being brought to the front lines, you know, Byun wasn't going to be able to push out too comfortably. Now, once you have Medivacs, you can push out whenever you want, but prior to Medivacs, it is certainly a choice of the Terran to actually try and push and punish a base like this. A thing that actually, Astrea in particular, is the type of Protoss player who would want the Terran to do that, to feel the necessity to punish that type of play, and then prepare to punish the punish, you know what I mean? That's another thing about these bases, is that oftentimes you're kind of hoping the other guy will just be kind of insulted by the audacity, and then they try and kill you, and then you're prepared for that, and you actually turn it around on them. Whatever the intentions were, the actual plan was, now we see a game that has gone past 2 bases, heading on to 4 for Astrea. Stalker is obviously eyeing this engagement, so let's coming in here. Force field looking maybe on the back line of those tanks. Yeah, it cuts the army in half. Nice snipes on the tanks. Try to pick up at least one of them. Byun may be able to save 2. Yeah, saves 2 tanks. Byun not realizing how aggressive Astrea was willing to be in the middle of the map. Figured he'd have time to run on over to the base and siege up in a more abusive location. It's exactly what Astrea was hoping he would hope. And so as long as those tanks weren't sieged, that was certainly a good enough army. With the tanks sieged and the army ready to go, that's a very different equation. But oh, wow. Byun realizing he's not going to win this game now with only 2 bases. Even though his 3rd is on the way, he's just pulling the SEVs. Fuck it. Is Storm done? Is Storm done? Storm is done. Oh my god. And Astrea does, they didn't, I guess didn't have the Storm initially. The army was so clumped up, I thought that was going to be a straight-up disaster, but the High Templars did not quite have their Storms. Maybe he already used recharge somewhere, I don't know. But they do have them now. And Storms are basically a counter to an SEV pool. So I don't see this going particularly well for Byun, but the lack of Storms for the first engagement did make things just a little more awkward. 2 tanks able to siege up on this base. More reinforcements on the way. Some SEVs still available to try and provide some buffer. But Astrea is really in a good position in this game. This is the, you know, that was 4th base, and he doesn't really need a 4th base at this point. It's very clearly going to be either do or die right here, right now. And sacrificing a 4th where you're still happily mining off of 3 is not that big of a deal. He could do it if required. Might not even be required. He might still save it. Really doesn't have to, though. Really doesn't have to. And he's not going to be able to save it. The Zealot's trying to get a better angle on the backside. Nexus does go down, but it is not what Byun needs quite yet. It's closer. Byun's making a game out of this. But as his reinforcements get caught by those zealots that I thought were initially going to go for this round, decided to go for a run-by. It's getting a little bit worse. The zealot run-bys will continue as well, so once this third CC is down and trying to replace the SCVs lost in the attack, they probably won't be able to do so very reliably. That is so many zealots, good lord. They got +2 attack, by the way, so Astrea has better upgrades than the Terran, and is going to take advantage right here. Big ol' surround in this army. Byun tucks himself into a corner, trying to pull his army back. If he could capture this many zealots for almost free, you know, if this army came out on the backside right here, that would be a colossal loss for Astrea. That would be very dangerous. So even though that's a lot of units, and if they get a surround, we know how scary zealots can be. Remember, if they're just going to go face first up a ramp in a choke against Widow Mines and Bio, they are not good. So Byun absolutely still in this game. It's just that Astrea does have a lot of control over it, with the High Templars being able to sneak up any kind of where, with the Warp Prism flying them around, with the Zealot run-bys being able to stop the 3rd CC from happily mining. He does have some control over this game. He needs to avoid the one decisive engagement where Byun wins, hands down, no contest, and then manages to win the game because of it. Right? But if Astrea can kind of string him along, that's exactly what he's doing, string him along, more storms, more medevac energy depleted, more run-bys ensuring it's still on 2 bases, the more Astrea will be able to win this game. And Astrea knows that, which is why he's doing it. I don't know where the Warp Prism went. I think it's just chilling on the backside, waiting for a perfect storm. Zealots could also be positioning themselves with the Warp Prism, exactly what is happening here, either for a run-by or back attack. Another base could be in trouble, but again, a base that could theoretically be given up and still be kind of okay. If Astrea can take a good fight, but that is really what's in question right now. Can Astrea take a good enough fight? There are no EMPs on the field. Byun is not trying to get to a Ghost Academy. So a couple of storms could really be the ticket here. Byun knows that. Pre-splits, trying to guard away from the Warp Prism. Most of his medevacs are out of juice. Nexus will be sacrificed. The probes manage to survive, however, and will go on to a base that is not really any safer. This is the unfortunate thing. Astrea could have tried playing the cockroach style of Protoss, where you just build bases. Once one dies, build another one. One dies, build another one. One dies. But he built the other one in a very vulnerable location. The tanks are more than happy to readjust. Holy shit, what a maneuver. One medevac goes down, but the doom drop is happening. The main base in a lot of trouble at this point. Astrea forced to recall, but with Stalkers for the most part. And Stalkers aren't that great against Bio. 2 storms do manage to hit a lot of the medevacs, but not a lot of the actual Bio. Still plenty of Bio there, but Simming again without any healing. The medevacs were out of juice with the drop. They're dying as well. Zealots were getting into the bases, and Byun did not find any success in that main base, actually. The complete lack of healing. A gamble off of desperation. I don't know if he really had a big blunder that really determined a lot of the game. Well, I think you could argue Byun's biggest blunder, by the way, say that 5 times fast. You could say it was moving out with the very first push with the 4 tanks. Because he didn't scout ahead. He didn't know that there'd be that many zealots waiting to catch him midway. That was the beginning of the end. He was on 3 mining bases? No, he wasn't. He was on 2. He had a 3rd CC, but he didn't have enough SCVs to saturate 3 bases, and he knew that zealot run-bys would continue and get even worse as the game went on. I'm telling you, Byun was dying. Byun was basically dead. This is backed up not just by my years as a commentator with relative knowledge of the game, but by Byun's decision to go for a doom drop. Either you stick with your opinion, which is that Byun just was an idiot and went for a doom drop for no reason, or you acknowledge that maybe Byun read the scenario in the same way that I'm reading it now and knew that he had to be desperate.
Warning. Philanthropist programs detected in comm servers.
Thank you, Scout C Justice, for a gifted sub. Alright, so Byun. I think, again, yeah, the first mistake was the push out where he lost 2 tanks, where he lost the Bio. He did not take as good of an engagement as he was hoping he would because, well, I mean, because he didn't scout. A scan ahead would have done the trick, probably. The Stalkers were engaging to kind of They were doing their job. He just crumbled and blundered. I'm telling you he didn't. I'm actually just straight up telling you that your opinion is wrong. He didn't crumble and make a blunder. Okay, why are there 2 engineering bays? Ha! He blocked both the natural and the third. Huh. You don't say this very often. Okay, well, what was I talking about? Yeah, Byun was losing the game, and he had to do something drastic, so Doom Drop it was. Double Engineering Bay is a lot of money, actually, but Byun still able to afford a command center relatively on time. Relatively. This is so funny. Third, Engineering Bay gets canceled. The natural doesn't, probably to scout. He wants to see what units are going to pop out. Okay, no, he cancels it as well. You do eventually need the money. I know people complain about mules, but Terran's build order is as tight as anyone else's in the early game. But it would have been nice to scout. The Reaper is obviously here to do that instead, so you can cancel it. The scout, first and foremost, wants to see technology, of course. The third nexus, or the natural nexus at the third, you need to scout that. Then you want to scout the technology. Then you would want to scout.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
Well, I guess the units and then the technology might have been how that went. But the Reaper went to the third immediately, looking for free probes. So it doesn't actually know that it was a sentry that popped out here, really limiting the amount of aggression that is available, or the amount of technology that is available to is going to be a little bit later with the 100 gas going into the sentry. Something that Astrea does a decent amount of time, though, and it's kind of encouraged with the recent patch, because you can energize the sentry and have hallucination, plus force field, plus guardian shield, if necessary. But Astrea was doing this before the patch anyway. Stalker is going to have to help out with the probes, finally able to mine as more warp-ins are happening. Now, that warp-in was a scout, if Byun caught that. 3 Stalkers warped in, 3 gateways that are warp gates. After a sentry opener, he saw the hallucination. This must mean that the Blink, the Twilight Council, is not particularly fast. And if it's not particularly fast, what is the likelihood of it being really, really aggressive? Probably lower than if it was a normal opener. And, well, Astrea did not go for a Warp Prism last game anyway. So there's an extent, there's a limit to how much he can be aggressive. With the later Blink, with the lack of the Warp Prism, he's not getting that power spike. He was hoping for a bit of a power spike where there is a number of Stalkers without Blink attacking a bunkerless natural. Without the bunker, the Marines can't deal with Stalkers. With the tank not quite sieged up, it's actually in trouble against what could have been upwards to 7 Stalkers on the offense. And, well, that didn't really work out. Now we kind of look awkward. The sentry dies, unfortunately. Cyclone gets a freebie and a probe. 2 probes. Gonna sacrifice stuff for a third one. Ah! Didn't get it. Feels bad. Horst Local. Thank you for the 60 months. What's my take on StarCraft 2 in 2025? I'm just going to be, I think it's only going to be EWC at this rate. So, not good. But moving on. Third Nexus is on the way for Astrea, which of course is natural because of the way they'd opened. He does have a lot of Stalkers that are finally going to have Blink. Only like 40, 50 seconds after a more normal Blink opener. You know, Blink after Cybernetic Score. That is a Blink. That is a Blink I wasn't expecting. And it is going to cost Astrea 4 Stalkers in total. Not really worth it, I think. Almost 5. Almost 5. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Okay, Blink's it back. At least some Marines get taken down in the fight, but there you have it. That is 5 Stalkers killed for a whopping 1 tank, 3 Marines. It would matter more, again, if this was going to try and snowball. Then a lack of tanks could be a problem if there were actually 20 Stalkers waiting somewhere. But obviously there's not. So, it was not the trade that Astrea was hoping for. A bunker was killed, too. Charge is on the way, and Astrea is going to be very much hoping for a surround with these Zealots. So last game, he was able to catch Byun out in the middle of the map, unsieged tanks, not prepared for an engagement. That's the best you can hope for. And it went really well. And it put Byun in that really awkward position where he felt like he was constantly trying to catch up. And then eventually tapped out. This game is not so much just a, hey, this opportunity is presenting itself. It's very much a, this opportunity must present itself, or I am dead. Astrea is in a decent amount of trouble. Medevac drop in the main base is okay. 5 probes and a stalker is okay. 6 probes. 7? 6. Always denied that final one. Unlucky. But yeah. And the plan also has been revealed, too, by the way, from that drop. So he got 6 probes, a stalker, and he scouted. The amount of gateways that are here, I mean, he technically didn't see the lack of gases or the lack of robotics bay, I guess, but the intention probably was obvious anyway. Just the way that Astrea planned last game is that Zealots could be his first answer, and then maybe into Colossus, right? But Colossus are going to be on the way. The first one is only going to start producing right now. Triple medevac drop already heading across the map. Very dangerous path that it's on, though. Right past the Observer, next to the Stalkers. 1 medevac does get shot down. And now this could absolutely call a blunder. This was very unnecessary. The medevac starting from downtown to then boost through the middle of the map is a dangerous thing to do. Now, I guess the middle of this map is actually relatively cut off, so I can kind of see why Byun thought that would be safe. And it was unlucky the army was killing the rocks as he was boosting over. But it you know, it's also just like, there's a reason that most of the time medevac drops are, you know, queued up there, then there. So Byun kind of gets slapped appropriately, you know? He did do something that was bad. But only 1 medevac went down, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Astrea making his moves to come back in this game, still on a relatively unimpressive Protoss army. But his 4th base is coming up in the corner, which Byun might not check, actually. He is getting a Dark Shrine to further add confusion in this game. And he will probably get up to 3 Colossus, which is a pretty good army to defend, anyway. With the proper positioning, proper scouting, you know, that'll be enough for sure. Astrea actually going to get aggressive here. Well, once again, Byun was not expecting that, so more power to Astrea. That actually ended up going perfectly. Oh my good lord. Force field still available to block out this ramp, and Byun took the worst possible fight. Wow. Feel like it's back in 2011, you know? His force fields were amazing. And Byun has to evacuate. This is going to be his 3rd CC, y'all. And now the Colossus is going to bully the gold base, so he can't take that. He needs to go for the regular one. Scans and sees that, hey, that gold base isn't taken. Maybe I'm still in this game. And that is better not to have the Nexus here in the gold base mining happily. But there is a 4th Nexus, and it is mining. And that's something that Byun is not aware of. The understanding of this game could be a little off. But I'm pretty sure he understands that was a bad battle. That was very unfortunate. If that wasn't the choke, if the force fields weren't there, if Byun knew the army was on its way, the Wood of Mines actually burrowed to clear out the frontline zealots. The army actually in a concave, not force fielded, would be able to demolish that stalker-based army right now. And the Colossus, well, they would have gotten a lot of pot shots to be sure. There's not that many Vikings, but they could have been in trouble as well. And instead, Astrea just uses the map really well. He was probably looking to harass the gold minerals, but then finding the army on that ramp. Oof. Oof. 4th base not going to happen, although, well, very, very bold. Not cancel. Good dodge away from the Disruptor. 1 Colossus is going to fall to the Vikings. Hello. There we go. But this is all a bit of a distraction, honestly, as Astrea slips into DT into the natural and the main base. Byun is going to have a lot of problems. He cannot continue the chase because he has problems back at home. 3rd base is also under attack. He is trying to deal with it as fast as possible. A couple of scans, a couple of EMPs to clear out those DTs, but 26 SCVs have gone down, and Byun is in a desperate situation. 40 SCVs to 75 probes as Astrea completes his 5th Nexus. Oof. I can really not overemphasize how important this battle was. I mean, good lord. And the amount of force fields. It must have been so frustrating for Byun. Well, Byun still has a 2nd shot in this game, but he's going to have to play very defensive, I would expect. Try and get to max out army. And when you're all maxed out, then it's kind of fair game. Astrea might have a bigger bank. Probably will. Astrea will have more opportunities as he kind of takes the map. But anything can happen when both players are maxed out. A really good engagement could still happen for Byun. And then Astrea could lose a base or two, and then suddenly momentum is really swung in favor of the Terran. Could happen. It's unlikely, not just because the Protoss army shouldn't throw away its life in a haphazard attack, but also because this is not a map where really I see the dominoes falling particularly quickly. Astrea's bases are mostly like on his side of the map, you know what I mean? Unless Astrea loses a defensive fight, which would really be the worst case scenario, then he would lose this base and that base and maybe this base or that base. But if he takes a bad fight offensively, I'm not sure Byun can really capitalize on it. And that's if Astrea takes a bad fight offensively. Holy shit, this ramp is going to haunt Byun in his dreams. Luckily, the Disruptor did not hit right there, but that is the only thing given to Byun right now is his supply dips below 150. He does only have a 20 supply deficit. That's workable, for sure. But he needs a much better fight, man. Oh, he's finally breaking on these rocks, which is a small comfort. That's still an abusable ramp, isn't it? But if he can get a concave, maybe. Upgrades currently even, 1-1 a +2. It's just the numbers aren't quite there. The Colossus also are not being answered anymore. No Vikings on the field. They are being the biggest bullies. This command center gotten as an orbital because kind of why not? Like almost you're pushing from this point, you're attacking from this point, and a planetary doesn't help defend Colossus harassment. So, but also because he's a little desperate. He does need a lot of economy, take some greed, take some risks, hope that it gets him to the max out supply. So far, it is not doing the trick. Not sure what Byun can do. Tries to take away the Colossus first. Oh, he takes the Warp Prism out. But now there's so many Zealots getting connections on that Bio army. No Widow Mines clear out the Zealots. The Marines can't just stay in place behind the Marauders to kill them. And it's just way too much from the Protoss. GG's Astrea. With the 2-1, gets himself in a slightly dicey situation in Game 3, but then pretty quickly recovers and looks dominating from that point on. Now advances to the finals to face Clem in a best-of-5 TvP.